Today we're joined by Dr. Carolin Schneider, an expert in linguistics and dementia who wrote a book about the complex dynamics of communication for bilingual individuals living with dementia. Dr. Schneider, welcome. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you for having me.
So, how does the experience of bilingual individuals with dementia different from monolingual speakers when it comes to communication?
Well, so I want to start out by saying the differences come from the speaker and their experience with their individual languages, and not so much predominantly from the dementia aspect of it. So everybody's linguistic fingerprint, so the languages that we speak and the varieties, so the local accents or whatever we speak at home, is very, very individual and will influence how we will live with languages through our life and how we will live with our languages in older age. And that very individual communication experience, kind of like a kaleidoscope, will influence my experience with dementia within my family situation or my inner circle with my friends um, when I'm diagnosed with a form of dementia.
So, in your research, you explore different conversation patterns between bilingual speakers living with dementia and their primary caregiver. Can you explain what this means and why it's significant in understanding communication needs?
Absolutely. So my aim was to better understand code switching, which is, well, the switch between two or more languages or two or more language varieties. So different areas in the United States, for instance, have different accents and different varieties of English, right? So I wanted to look into the code switching patterns because there were a lot of myths out there. Let's call them myths that either people have no control over switching because the dementia kind of is in control and that would lead to pathological switching. That is not true. And the other myth was that people could simply switch to one of their other languages or varieties once they forget a term or expression in one language. Also, that isn't true. What is true that we get a very varied, well, reply to the answer, to the question, excuse me, that it really depends on the individual, on the very own language set of the person and the family, and how we as individuals choose to speak. That is one of the major findings.
So, what are the most surprising findings that you've encountered about the role of language or languages in dementia care?
I think the most surprising is that at first, communication is not particularly impacted by dementia, but instead impacted by the social environment's reaction to the dementia. So I often heard, oh, so and so doesn't speak English anymore. She will only reply to you in Spanish, which, well, yes, I did receive a Spanish reply, but that person was perfectly able and capable to understand English. So it's more the environment that kind of makes those decisions at first. And I mean, if I feel insecure about speaking a particular language because I have a slight accent, people keep pointing it out to me. And then on top of that, I might have insecurities because of memory loss. Well, I would prefer to speak a language that I feel 100% at home in and feel capable of speaking. And then I would simply not reply in that language per se. So it's important to point out that, yeah, the environment. So how does the family or the friends or doctors, how do they approach communication and how do they communicate with a person diagnosed? And that makes, especially in the very beginning and in the earlier stages, that makes a huge impact.
So you're starting a new project to address those communication questions. Can you explain the core objectives of the Dinner Time Project and what we're going to learn from it?
Absolutely. I am starting the Dinner Time Project to start a collection of conversations over dinner time, as the name suggests. And people living with dementia and their inner circle, so their close family members at home, are recording themselves once a month, and they can decide each month if they want to do it or not. Um, and by that, I'm hoping to track communication changes over time in English, but also in any other language. Um, Track how people switch their patterns of communication, how dementia kind of plays into it, and also what strategies work. Like, how does communication keep on going? So, as the dementia progresses, people will have changing abilities. So, sentence structures will inevitably, over time, shorten or change. And how do family members, for instance, react to that? How do they keep the conversation going by posing more questions? How do they switch topics? How do they redirect? So we will get, on the one hand, many, many insights on communication itself and language itself, but also we can establish, well, help and support in forms of new strategies, communication strategies for care partners at home. And for those involved, well, it will create a little private archive of grandpa's favorite childhood stories or mom's retelling of holiday cooking or simply just precious small talk with our loved one.
Well, Dr. Schneider, thank you very much for those insights.
Thank you for having me.
So, Dr. Schneider was able to shed light on the crucial role of language in dementia care, and her work offers valuable insights into how we can better support bilingual individuals and their families in navigating the challenges of communication. For those interested in learning more or getting involved with the Dinner Time Project, you can visit the project's website or sign up for upcoming roundtable discussions to contribute to this important conversation.